It's thinking, okay, we're live. Let me go grab the link. And of course, Brian Walker just came in.
Hi, Brian.
He doesn't, the dogs just said, oh, dad's here. All right. I am sharing it. Okay. All right. So we'll give people a little minute to get in here. We'll just chat for a second. They may be posting comments in our Facebook group, but they also can post here and you can see the comments as well.
All right.
But we keep an eye on this because a lot of people, sometimes there's not many people in here watching it in the moment, but they watch the recorded. And so if we get any questions or anything after the fact, we'll reach out to you. That way we can answer people and all that good stuff. But
how long have you been doing this?
We have done, I want to say we started it this year. So once a month, we do a live coaching Q&A in our client only group. And it's been generally with coaches. So we've had Bill Haas, we've had Chris Cotton, Darren Barney. I had Rena Renabaum, I want to say last month.
Yeah. Has she sent you some avocados though?
She did.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they're amazing.
I was shocked by that. It just showed up like, from California, and they were incredible. And we lead a small group at our house on Wednesday nights. And I want to say that we used some of them for guacamole for like taco night or something like that. And yeah, they were beautiful. She's phenomenal. And we've had other people on as well, but you're not like a coach, but you're definitely a friend in the industry. But that said, you're going to share information that's like a coach when it comes to hiring and recruiting and all that fun, good stuff. So
yeah, I'm very data driven, but I tell everybody I love winning more than I love data. But I think making data driven decisions is super important. But you have to remember that data is still done by bots and humans. There's mistakes. Nothing's ever perfect. It's only as good as what you get into your systems and what people tell you and all those things. So you have to take it with a grain of salt sometimes, but try to make educated decisions. And that's how I look at coaching, advice, mentoring. Obviously there's some art to it too, with your gut feel. And I've always trusted my gut for the most part too. So yeah, happy to help as much as I can here.
Awesome. Well, you probably, I bet in your world, you feel like you're saying the same thing over and over and over again. But, I think that when this message gets out there, whether it's at this event or at this, I feel like you're always sharing something new with someone, and people I feel like it's kind of like a movie, they may have heard you talk before, but sometimes you watch the movie the second time and you take away something new or different, or you're just reiterating a point people need to hear. So that's what we're here for, just to plant some seeds, maybe water some seeds, just get people this whole conversation about hiring and retaining, and it's exhausting because I hear it all the time, but you guys came into the market. Well, you've been in this world for a long time, but Promotive, I remember, I want to say I was at Vision a couple of years ago when y'all did the big Saturday night sponsorship thing, and you got up, and I'm like, I didn't know you before Promotive, and I don't know how, but I remember going, who is this chick that says she's been in the industry forever? How have I never met her before? And I remember like looking you up, and I'm like, how have our paths not crossed? So
yeah, it was strategic in a way, honestly, Kim, that I did not go to a lot of events with 360. I did in the very beginning. I always went to SEMA just because you need man or woman power because it's such a long day and 4 or 5 days in a row. But I was so focused on sending other people and giving them more opportunities than me taking the 2 or 3 or 4 tickets that you might get per event. So I didn't go to a lot of events, especially once I had kids. Having call a 1 and 3-year-old during COVID. So let's fast forward to when they were 2 and 4 or 2 and 4 or 5, whatever. That's prime time where you can't leave a parent single home for multiple nights in a row, let alone many weeks in a row as the shows happen. So I think that's why we probably haven't met, but I always saw you. You're easy to see with your big smile and Brian running around out there. But we were at 360 so focused on the shop software integrations and partnerships and digital vehicle inspections and all that we weren't as focused on partnering with the marketing companies so much. But shame on both of us that we didn't know each other. So
I know,
but
right?
it was strategic, in some ways of me not traveling too much at that stage of my life.
Well, it's smart that you didn't. I mean, that's the right thing to do. I have a podcast that I recorded kind of early on that talks about, I forget the exact title, but living intentionally on purpose. And it all goes back to a moment in time when Peyton, this guy who's now 22, but he was like, I want to say he was 3 years old. And I was pulling in at the daycare at 5:59 p.m. to pick him up because 6 p.m. they charged you $5 per minute you were late.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was always the very last minute running in, and I remember putting him in the car and we were riding home, and his little 3-year-old voice that he doesn't have anymore, that little boy voice, said, "Mommy, do you have another one of those meetings tonight?" And I was like, I lied to him and I said no, because of course I did. And I didn't go. I canceled it. And then the next morning, or just didn't show up, I should say, because I was on some committee. And the next morning I kind of cleaned my plate of things. But, I didn't say no to all that stuff that I should have. I missed his first couple of Halloweens because we were at Automotive Industry Week in Vegas. And, he doesn't know that. He doesn't remember it, but I do. And so, anyway, we're here to talk about other things, but I totally get where you're coming from with regard to making those decisions to be a mom when you need to be a mom. So,
well, don't beat yourself up too hard. I feel the same way. Like, if I had one regret tomorrow, if I was told I was, dying or whatever, morbid thought you want to have as natural parents, you do have, I would regret still not spending enough time with my kids. But I also tell myself the flip side of it is I'm giving back to the rest of the world with what we're doing as leaders, employing other people, keeping shops, staffed, or making car count come in, or helping them with their payments. Like, we're helping them hopefully be better parents too. And at the end of the day, I don't think your kid is in a bad spot, and I don't think my kids are either. So
you're not. You're not.
No,
He definitely talks often about things he learned from watching us and all the different things.
I'm taking a note to send you a picture I found that my son in one of his projects said who he admires most, and drew a picture. I mean, his handwriting's terrible. He can't spell, and his drawing is worse than mine, I think. But it's still one of those, like, all right, they see it in a different light. So
for sure.
But
well, yeah, let's dig in. And for those of you who are watching the recording, if you post your questions, we do look at them even after, we get a notification that there's comments on our YouTube channel. So if you have questions for me, for Lisa, we will definitely get back to you. For anyone that pops in here during the live recording, same thing, drop your comments and we will get to them for you. But today, if you didn't already know, because her name is on the screen, I'm really, really, really happy to be hanging out with Lisa Coyle, CEO of Promotive, which also, by the way, at some point, I definitely feel like it will fit into what we were talking about today. The thing that y'all announced at the last vision that has come out with a big promotion recently about people telling their own automotive story, I think is brilliant. And so I definitely want you to touch on that at some point and remind us of the deadline maybe that's approaching for getting that stuff in. But I want to talk about kind of thinking through the whole journey, but the recruiting part and the hiring, interviewing part, and retention, onboarding, and then retention, and all of that kind of stuff. And so, just kind of starting with that beginning of the recruiting phase. I mean, I have questions, but I really just want to have a conversation, and you probably have just things that you're always saying, but what do shop owners need to know about the recruitment part that maybe they haven't thought of?
So, shop owner or flooring company owner, owner of Shop Marketing Pros, 360 Payments, whatever company you are growing, and it's not a 1 or 2 person show where it's just run by the owners, you should always be recruiting. And I know that is a broken record with how many times the industry talks about that and the coaches talk about it, and you hear it in your BNI group or whatever, networking or association you're a part of. But when it comes to recruiting, the number one thing I'd say is that shop owners need to treat candidates the way they would a customer. A customer coming in today or calling you and saying that my car's making a click, 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 click noise, or the check engine light went on, the faster you get that car into your shop and on the lift, the higher chance you have of winning the job. Mm-hmm. And it starts with that first impression, right? So when they call you, who's greeting them? Are you answering the phone saying, hey, thanks for calling Joe's Auto, can you hold on a minute? Versus, thanks for calling Joe's Auto, I'm on the other line, but is this an emergency? Or do you mind holding a minute or two, type of thing, right? Like, it starts with those first impressions. It starts with the website. What does your website look like? What does your signage out front look like? What does the lobby look like? So shops invest so much on that, and I hope they do at least, on that first impression for the customer. They need to take that same approach with candidates. And a simple thing, like we joke around at at Promotive, I intertwine the words all the time of the companies, but at Promotive, we joke around and say, like, are they a Chuck E. Cheese employee, Taco Bell worker, meat packer, nail technicians that apply to the jobs, or do they have industry experience? Regardless of how amazing their resume looks, treat them like human beings. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's people out there who are just applying to jobs to collect unemployment, right? We get it. It happens everywhere, but you never know what that person is or who they're going to become 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now. So having that impression to say, thanks for applying. We really appreciate you taking the time to submit your resume, but you don't have the experience we're looking for based on your resume. Is there anything that's not on your resume that you think would be a better fit that meet these criteria? Having that simple interaction will make a difference on them, because you also don't know who they're going to tell that this company never replied to me. Mm-hmm. They never responded. They just said thanks, but no thanks. Whatever like that situation is, you have to assume they're going to tell 10 other people if it's a bad experience, and if you're lucky, 1 other person if it's a good experience. Yeah. So I'd say starting there and then managing it like a pipeline, right? You tell me, Kim, like, how often does a shop stay in touch with a customer? How often should they throughout a year?
3, 4 times.
Okay. So, and
I'm thinking
a customer.
How often are they coming in? Oh my gosh, staying in touch and communicating with the customer. I mean, at the very least monthly.
Right. So take that philosophy and do that with candidates who are applying to your shop, do it with your terminated employees, right? How many customers does a shop have that they, might have a mistress on the side? They're traveling, they have to get their car fixed somewhere else. They're in a jam and they don't want to wait for the appointment that you have available, and they just want to go get something, a quick oil change done, maybe at the dealership, right? Like, like you still have to stay in touch with the people who don't use you too. So, and you never know what's changing. Maybe a customer has, a Jeep Wrangler today, and then they end up getting an Audi later, and the Audi dealership is telling them to go there. And oh, by the way, we'll do your Jeep for you too. Like, if you're not keeping that relationship going, people will go elsewhere. Same thing with candidates. And remember, someone who applies 5 years ago as a GST, if they're in the industry now, they're probably not still a GST, right? They've probably advanced their career. So keeping that contact, rooting for them, taking notes. Do they like, the New York Giants? Do they like, they have a daughter who in 2025 was 7 years old. So when you reach back out to them in 2026, how's your daughter now? Was she like 8? She's going into second grade. Like, those little things that they do for their customers, they need to be doing for their candidates.
Would you say that's the biggest mistake that you see shop owners doing when it comes to attracting or recruiting the right candidates for their jobs? Is that one and done, they applied, not staying in touch with them? Or
yeah, I wouldn't call it a mistake so much as, that they're just not treating the candidates like a customer, and realizing that people change, grow, advance, the reputation that the shop might have. If I want to talk about mistakes that shops are making, it's simple things like, I think websites should be geared more towards attracting talent and retaining talent than just attracting jobs. Don't get me wrong. I understand, to show up on Google for, transmission repair near me, you need that SEO and all that content. But at the end of the day, like, unless you're trying to bring new people, new customers in, like, most of the shop's existing customers aren't looking at the websites. That they might just call for an appointment. They might book online. The new customers that are coming in too, most people are like me. I don't know anything about cars, honestly. Like, it's kind of like a joke that, they're like, Joelle one time was like, what shape is a rotor? And I was like, a circle, and she's like, good job. And I was like, there's only like 3 shapes, what else could it be? And it says rotor, like rotation. It makes me sound like, maybe blonde or silly or ditzy, but like the reality is, like, I don't care about cars. I care about my car being safe. And my websites, I always want easy to, book meetings, appointments, but I want people to want to come work for me. I want them to be proud, the current employees be proud of where they work and be bragging about, that they are on our website, showing their mom or their grandma or kid, like, look at me, I'm on this website. My kids think I'm famous, like, which is hilarious, right? But like, if your picture's on a website and you're on YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff, kids think you're famous, and you get that, like, that feel that you're part of something bigger than just clocking in, clocking out. So I'd say that's a mistake. And then obviously, like, I think the biggest mistake is not getting back to people quick enough. Speed to lead is a very important thing. And similar to bringing the customers in, like we talked about, the faster you get someone into your shop, higher chance you have of getting the job. You have to get to these candidates fast. And it can't just be a thanks for applying, call me if you're interested, or schedule a meeting here. You have to assume that they've applied to 10, 15, 20 other shops, and they're going to talk to the ones that give them the most attention. And it's texting, calling, emailing, and in our world, I'm going to give everybody the number one tip: text them. Text. Do not email and expect a technician to be on their email. It's a text message relationship and getting them on the phone as fast
What
as you
about
can.
service advisors? Do you think service advisors, email is okay? Do you think it's still the
Yeah,
texting? Is there a difference
it's
there?
it's still both, right? Like I'm quicker. Think about it right now. If you and I are on this meeting, or a service advisor or technician they're at their job, my watch and my phone will light up on a text message, but not on emails. They're not going into their email the way they are. They're texting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say no matter what the role is, text is number one if you want them bad enough. And don't leave voicemails. People don't listen to voicemails these
Yeah,
days.
right. Yeah.
Right. So it's tech, like call, they don't answer, shoot them a text right away saying, I just, try to reach you via phone. I assume you don't want voicemails. So this is Lisa from Promotive or Kim from Shop Marketing Pros. Hit me up when you can chat, or, let me know a time I can try you again. But service advisors, I do like email because you do want to see
Yeah.
how well put together they are in replying, and just like, can they type full sentences? I don't expect the same from technicians as I would service advisor.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was wondering, I totally agree with you on the website part. I mean, let me elaborate a little bit. I do think that the website is, and I think you do too, it's for both, right?
Yeah.
It's gotten to the point now where when we build a website, a careers page, and then about us, well, the about us page has always been just default part of it, but a careers page, and the way that we encourage our shops to allow us to build the careers page, they have to give us information, right? A lot of the stuff, a photo gallery showcasing what maybe a day in the life might be like at your shop, team, and what's going on, and all of that kind of stuff. So let's just elaborate a little bit while we're still in this attracting the right candidates. I know Promotive, you guys, I definitely want you to share how you help shops in the mix as well. But in the meantime, just y'all, I think y'all are very much like us in that we build raving fans, super fans, by one, we teach people what we do. We tell them how to do the things.
Yep.
And there are people who they're not ready to come join us, be part of our world over here. They want to, they're just not, whether it's the budget or whatever, but we teach them. We're giving them all the information. We teach classes. Here's how you do the thing. So they go off and do the thing, and they are super fans of ours because we taught them how to do it.
Yeah.
And, or I should say, they're like, I do not have the time for that. I need you to do it. Just take it off of my plate and we'll work together and you do the thing. And so that's two ways. And I think y'all are very similar. You're very out there on, just like right now, and you've been on our podcast before, and I see you at all of the industry events and really getting out there. Y'all social media, you're sharing stuff. So I want you to talk a little bit more about, what do you think? Because I feel like maybe I've heard you say something about the careers page, like either don't have a careers page or put what you need on the careers page. But if they're using Promotive, it's a link to go to, like, flesh that out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about, if there is a careers page on the website, what do you think should be there? How can a shop showcase, say, for example, their shop culture or their core values when communicating the job post out there? And then also just talk a little bit about how does Promotive help with that?
Yeah. So the first thing, one of my favorite quotes is the Maya Angelou. People don't remember what you said or what you did. They remember how you made them feel. So with a website or a booth that you might have, like, don't get hung up on every single detail of like, oh, this isn't the exact shade of blue. Joelle makes fun of me that we have like every shade of blue on the Promotive, on t-shirts, hats, our website's all different. Like, don't get hung up on those little things. get hung up on the experience that someone has coming to your website. And when they leave the website, what are they thinking? So one thing that I really like on careers pages aren't just like how nice your lobby is, or having pictures of like individual people. Get creative and do fun things. It could be having a video. So I think you and I may have talked about an end of year video that we put together. We're huge video documenters of everything our team is doing. And if I was a shop, for example, I'd be like taking videos of the funniest or craziest things that you've fixed on cars, or the super cool things that techs are, they like cars, right? That like, I don't think I've talked to a single tech that if I asked them what their dream car was, they didn't have an answer. Whereas for me, people are like, what's your dream car? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I drive a 2019 Volkswagen Atlas, because it pulls my boat and that's very practical with the kids and everything, but go towards those things that are going to make technicians in particular remember, like, oh, this is a cool shop. Like they have good vibes. Or like maybe you want the culture of like, we GSD, right? We get ish done. And we want to make sure that people see that, like whatever you're trying to attract, do that. I've always attracted and gone after the whatever it takes, work hard, play hard, honest to a fault, integrity, all of that, and have fun with it. And I'm happy to send you some examples of our videos, and interview your employees, especially when they're having good days. So example is, ask them randomly, if you had to describe Joe's Auto in one word, what would it be? And it's interesting to hear their answers. And then you could string that into a video. And Canva, for example, is a tool. I call her my girlfriend. I also call ChatGPT my girlfriend, and I call Siri my girlfriend, right? Let me ask my girlfriend for some help. But like string these videos together and post them on YouTube, link them on your website, have a serious one too, of course, but go for some videos. People like videos. If you're going to show, your employees on your website, which I recommend. Some people have this short-sighted mindset of like, oh, if I put my master tech on my website, they might get recruited. Don't have that mindset. First off, if they get recruited, shame on you, in my opinion, for not, paying them what they're worth or giving them what they need and advancing their careers, whatever the situation is. You want what's best for your people. You always have to have that mindset that if that was your child, that was your uncle, your spouse, you wouldn't want to hold them back. So why hold, bless you, why hold your current employees back? So I would put them on the website and then highlight, like their favorite car, the jobs they like working on most. And you can even do where you hover over their picture and it flips into them in work mode, or it flips into them being like, right? Or it flips into them, like maybe they're in a heavy metal band and they're, doing something fun. Like make your employees seem like they're cool people to work with, or, at least make it, a reality of who they are, who that next future team member would be working with.
I love all of that. I have always said, when someone quits Shop Marketing Pros, I take that as they fired me.
Sure.
And, so when it makes sense, I'm having a conversation about what could we have done differently? How could we have kept you here? Whatever it might be. And the video part, just to throw out a couple of shops, and you may have some that are at the top of your mind as well for people to go look at. These folks are just dear friends. They're not clients, but the Burris family over at Frog Pond Performance, they are way out in the middle of the country, in North Carolina, but their videos, like people just have to go look at what they're doing. Callie Grace is kind of in charge of that, but I'm sure I can see Christy or Benji going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this idea that she's got today. But they do a ton of video, and it's all about who they are as a shop,
Yeah.
all about company culture. Very rarely is it ever anything automotive educational or service related, but it's just about we always say people do business. Everybody says this. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. Well, people
Mm-hmm.
also want to work at a place where they know you, like you, and trust you. So I love that
Yeah.
you talked about that. RDI Power down in Florida. They are clients, and they do some great video work. There's a lot of, I'm just thinking of the ones that are popping up at the top of my mind. Bavarian, they do some great stuff as well. But kind of transitioning into, we've done the recruiting part. We've put ourselves out there to showcase who we are and why people would want to come and be a part of our team. But now you're into the interviewing and the selecting people. How do you filter people? How are you screening them to make sure that they're a good fit? And red
Yeah.
flags people might look for. Talk about the interview and selection process.
Yeah, so we kind of bucket for first off, there's the application process, right? So one piece of advice when you start there is make sure you're checking your job ads on a mobile device. Make sure it's mobile optimized. I think our statistics, we can log into Indeed or, hold me accountable to this to see, like, Indeed will tell us, for example, what percentage of our candidates are applying from a mobile phone versus a desktop computer, and it's dramatically higher on cell phones right now.
For technicians,
I don't know if it breaks it out
when you're doing a job.
Yeah, I don't know if it breaks it out by the role. I can dig into it. I mean, Indeed is a whole beast that I still can't believe that there is large.
Every time you log into it, there's something different.
And
right?
they change their algorithms. You can invest $1,000 on a sponsored ad and still show up on the third page, but then the next day you put it in free and you're on the first page. Like I cannot figure out the algorithm. So if there's anybody here that has figured out Indeed's algorithms for the long haul, not just the short term, please let me know. But it does start with that job post. And I would say, you have to be different than anybody else. Take advantage, just like in email marketing, take advantage of that subject line. What are those first impression, bullets that you want to highlight on to get them to apply to you versus somebody else? Example, maybe you want to do $1,000 signing bonus. Screw around with that in the subject line if you're not getting, any traction, because they're just scrolling and it's like, okay, here's this shop, this dealer, this shop, this dealer, this shop, this dealer. They all say they have pizza parties. They all pay the same amount. This one has 401k, but like you have to separate yourself from everybody else. And it could, be a title of, technician / automotive engineer, or what's CARM calling them, automotive specialist, right? So,
automotive technology specialist.
Yeah. Whatever is going to grab their attention more than, whatever everybody else is doing. Think about that and go for fun wherever your hometown is, and type in, in Indeed, automotive technician, Walnut Creek, California, and see what's coming up, see why they're coming up, and then again, look at your ad from the phone. And I'd say also, whatever you're willing to pay, put that in. Don't say $20 to $50 an hour, depending on experience. Like,
are you talking about in Indeed?
In any of the job postings, whether it's on your career page, it's on your Indeed, don't be as go at the higher end, because money, unfortunately, for better or worse, does talk right now. And your goal is to get the applicant, get the at bat, get the chance to, get them in. And let's say you do put 40 to 50 an hour instead of 20 to 50 an hour. And then you're like, oh, well, they probably are only worth 35 an hour after you met with them. Like, maybe you wowed them enough to explain why you want to start them at 35 an hour type of thing. So it's not, to me, a bait and switch. It's, hey, I'm willing to pay 40 to 50 an hour for this criteria. And if they come in and you're like, hey, you only check, 5 of the 8 boxes to get to that 40 to 50, here's the path that you can go on. I'll start you at 35, but this is what you could do to get to that 40 to 50. And they love your culture. They love you. They love the team that they've met with. But your first goal is get them in the door applying. Then once they apply, I like to bucket them into yes, 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 no, no, yes, and no, no. Yes, yes is yes, their resume looks like they're a fit. And yes, we have a position we would hire them for today. Those ones should get the, high touch speed, like they're your priorities. Then you have a yes, they have experience. Yes, they look like they'd be a fit for us, but no, we don't have an exact job for them today. And everybody's gone through this. Like, you post a job for, an A-level tech and you get the C-level or GST applying to it. So that's an example where, like, hey, if I was hiring for a C-level or a GST, they look like they'd be a fit, but I don't have a spot for them today. Okay. Then there's the no, they don't look like a fit. But yes, they maybe have some automotive experience. Yes, we have a job for them today. And then there's the no-nos, like those again are the no, they're no automotive experience. They, are a nail technician. Maybe they are just, saw technician, Walnut Creek, California, and they apply and they don't look at all the details because they're just apply, right? Yeah. Then they all deserve responses in some capacity. But you prioritize the yes, yeses more, but those yes, nos do become your future ATEX, right? They do become your future bench for when you do need a GST or a C-Tech. And the no yeses are typically more of the service advisor roles. Like, no, they don't have the experience I'm looking for. Maybe they're, I personally think, by the way, the dental field, if you're hiring for a service advisor, the dental background is so similar to automotive repair. And 360s, my first company, our second biggest vertical after automotive was dentists. They do, the DVI type stuff, right? And they're trying to get people to come in at least twice a year, just like, auto shops are. Yeah. So think about when they're going through your teeth and like 3, 4, 1, 2, I don't know what the heck the numbers mean, but you start realizing what's good and what's bad. Then they're going through their inspection too. They do your x-rays, they try to tell you, every year. But I think you get a service advisor applicant that has dental background, you're like, I don't know about this. But we do have a job. They're still worth talking to and learning from them. So high touch. I don't have an ego and think if they don't, reply back to me, they're not worth my time. But I hear that a lot from shop owners. It could just be that they're working and they, don't want to answer phone calls during work hours. And you need to be willing to do after hours work. We get, I think it was 47% of our applicants last year came in on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So people get their paychecks typically on Fridays. So maybe there's a discrepancy, whatever the case is, right? Sundays, they have the Sunday scaries. They don't want to go back to work on Monday. Those ones, that's your opportunity, because I promise most shop owners, for better or worse, again, are not doing those things on the weekend. And you have to always be willing to do what other people aren't to get ahead.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, get it, respond to them quickly, even if it's on the weekend.
Yeah. So
if the shop owner is not going to be the one willing to do that, there may be somebody else in leadership at the shop who's in charge. Just make sure it's someone responding to them.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's not just responding, it is calling and texting them. Hey, I got your, because seriously, how long, I can tell you our answers, but how long does a phone interview take? You don't have to do a Zoom, or a Gmeet. You can do a phone conversation and you get a good vibe over the phone with them. And they take, our average on them is like 20 to 30 minutes. The technicians are on the shorter end, that 20-minute side, and the service advisors are on the 30-minute side because, like me, they talk a lot, right? So they're salespeople. So, it does not take that long to try to do interviews on the weekend. And I'm sure that the shop doesn't have one person doing the interviews. There's a few of them, so just work together. Whether it's you, your service advisor, the GM, like somebody should be reaching out to them as fast as possible.
So once you've moved through all of that, and now you've made selections on who you're interviewing, and some people have these I don't know what, I've seen them called different things, but where they come in for like one day and like job shadow with someone. Like, talk about you've picked, you've filtered, now the interviews or the selection process.
Yeah. So on our interviews on the phone, by the way, Promotive, we do the initial screening. Obviously, we're going through all the applicants, we're doing all that work. So our big pitch to shop owners is we're saving you time and we're going to be faster at it than you are. And we're going to treat them like sales more than you probably will, because the urgent outweighs the priorities in shops, right? Especially Mondays. What's a shop like on a Monday? If I just said 47% of the applicants come in over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Mondays, the weekend rush is coming in. So you want to get the cars, up on the lifts and get the work going so you can have them back out as fast as possible, ideally by Fridays at the latest. Ours is basic screening of how long have you been in the automotive industry. Most of these guys are like, well, and gals, I've been fixing cars since I was 12, right? Yeah. But like, how long have you worked in a shop? Yeah. What are you looking for in your next job? Why are you looking to currently leave? What level technician would you consider yourself? What makes and models are you most comfortable with? You have more Euro or Asian domestic experience. What are your career goals? What, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your diag experience? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your electrical diag experience? Can you read wiring diagrams? 1 to 10 drivability. Rate yourself. If they give themselves all 10s, red flag, right? They don't think that they have any room for improvement. What jobs do you like doing the most, and what are you assigned to most? What jobs do you like doing the least? And that's another one. If you're like, well, I like everything. I'm like, there's something that you'd not prefer to do. Usually it's something like with tires, right? Because it's like, heavier or like, they might say certain diag because it takes longer, or certain types of cars take longer, and they are aligning what they like doing least a lot of times with what their comp plan is. So you have to get in that. Speaking of comp, we ask them, do they prefer to be on guarantee, hourly, or do they prefer to be on flat rate? What are they on now? How many hours are they flagging? Do they have pay stubs that can prove that? If they're on guarantee on an hourly right now, a lot of times they don't know what they're flagging. Believe it or not, a lot of shops out there, we work in a world, and everybody on this call right now, where visibility and transparency and showing efficiency, productivity, flagged hours, all this kind of stuff is normal. Most relationships out there or shops that they're working for don't show this. One, because they don't value KPIs and everything the way we all do. And then two, they don't, just make it a priority to show people their progress of what they're doing. So we're going through all that. We're asking if they would pass a background test. Would they pass a drug test? You get a lot of fun answers in there on it, which, by the way, if there's anything that people want to pick up from this, Google WOTC. It stands for Work Opportunity Tax Credit. There's 5 buckets that today, I always only remember 4, but are you an honorably discharged vet? Are you collecting government assistance through food stamps? Are you collecting unemployment? And are you a convicted felon? In that, if they say yes to one of those, We have a whole process. We just launched a beta on where we're doing the work for the shop on the back end, but the shop, any employer, not just shops, qualifies for a $2,400 to $9,600 tax credit, not a write-off, a full tax credit based on the, answer yes, like a felon might get more than maybe someone collecting food stamps. I don't know the exact math behind it, but you get a serious credit for those types of things. And I know a lot of shop owners that I've ever talked to do believe in second chances, right? For the right situation, obviously. They do believe in helping people who are struggling. They want to change these people's lives. So it's something that you can get through the government in general. So we're doing that stuff too. And then now, ADHD just kicks in here. So to finish the question out, once we, I know where you went with this. Once we say, hey, here's everything we got from this candidate, here's their resume. If they have a resume, by the way, so we don't always just we don't deal with just applicants. We're working our pipeline. Just like I talked about how shops should work a pipeline. We have 2.5, 3 years of data at this point. So again,
this is just to be clear, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
This is the promotive bench, if you will, that when shops come to you for help in this hiring world, you already have a bank. You already have a bench. You've already filtered, and you're like, these are.
Yeah, I just a shop lead came in last week that I met with on Friday, and they're in Sacramento area. I ran a 25-mile search from their zip code, and we already had 71 pre-screens. So that interview process that I talked about, 71 pre-screen that we rated a 3 to 5 stars.
Yeah.
So we already have a database to hit before we just rely on the Indeed applicants. Now, granted, they may have been an Indeed applicant 2 or 3 years ago, but hitting those ones first, we're honoring what we tell the candidates, that if we don't get you a job today, or we don't have one for you today, we want to reach out to you before we reach out to new applicants, because that relationship's established. And then 2, for the shop, you're not in a bidding war with these people, right? They're usually not looking for jobs. We tell them to take the call. You never know what else is out there. We're not telling somebody that's like super, super happy, like I want to retire here, we're not hounding them to go take this interview, because we want them to be happy. We want them to stay in this industry. We want to help the shortage. So if they are in a good spot, we're not, trying to harass them to interview with our shops. But we take my point on it is we don't require them to go make resumes and to get an interview, but we'll take that summary and say, hey, this was an outbound candidate that is in our pipeline. We don't have a resume, but here's their employers that they've had over the X number of years or last 3 jobs. If we have a resume, we'll send that. And then it's really the shop's process from there of what they want to do. Most of them do at least one in-person interview. We've had plenty of them get hired on the spot. Some do the working interviews that you're referencing. If you are going to do a working interview, put yourself in their shoes would be my advice. We all know that a lot of technicians don't have tons of PTO, which is a whole different topic we can go into. Right. But they don't have tons of PTO, and they don't want to just take off, and especially for an unpaid day off. So I would say, like, if I was a shop owner that really wanted that in-person interview of shadowing or working for a day or a half day, I'd pay them double what they're getting paid today. And it could just be in an Amazon gift card, Visa gift card, anything under $600 you don't legally have to report as a 1099 or anything like that. So make it like a no-brainer for them to want to do this, instead of you're making them take off and jump through hoops and everything. The harder you make the process, I can tell you somebody else is making it easier for them. So don't get me wrong, like a bad hire costs a lot of money, but not getting a good hire also costs a lot of money. So put yourself in their shoes. and be as
Along those
accommodating.
same lines, what do you think about maybe not the working day, but I've seen some shops who will invite a candidate not early on in the process, as they get a little further along in the process, inviting them to say go to lunch with the team
Yeah.
or something like that. Have you
Yeah.
seen? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, at 360, my first company, again, we were in office until COVID,
Mhm.
and we would take the employee and their spouse out to dinner. And you learn a lot on how they interact with the staff, how conversational they are, all those different things. But the key is getting the spouse on board, in this career move. So yeah, there's plenty that will invite them to happy hours. And it doesn't have to be like, let's use that GST example. A GST applies to an A tech role and you don't have a spot for the GST today, or the C tech. Invite them to your team happy hour still. Like, the worst case scenario is that you're giving them some of your secret sauce. Like, you're talking about your business. They might go back to their current employer and say, oh, I learned this from one of my buddies or another shop. Like, at the end of the day, everybody listening to this call wants this industry to improve.
Yeah.
We're not helping anybody by just keeping our cards close to or tight to our vest. So, but I would just say in the process, make it as easy as possible and be professional. I can't tell you how many candidates are like, oh, I was supposed to meet with Bob and he wasn't there. And then, the candidate's showing up and talking to the service advisor and they're like running an impromptu meeting. Like, if you, again, treat them like customers. If you mess up, make it right. Send them a text like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to make it up to you. When you get here, I'm going to, let's have pizza, like, instead of just meeting in my office, like, whatever it is, like, make it right. Just like if you mess something up for a customer, odds are you'd make it right somehow. But those impressions make a big difference.
So, gosh, I mean, I feel like we almost need a part 2 of this. I feel like I'm only like halfway through the process. Can you share, quickly on we've got past that part. You've selected their onboarding, their training, and that part. What should a shop be doing? Because I feel like processes and systems, there's some topics that I'm like, why are we still talking about this? How is it even 2025 and shops are still not doing this, or they're still not doing this? I feel like the systems, the processes, the onboarding is you set someone up for success or failure on day one.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to give you a lot here. So first off, stop talking to other shops about what they're doing and start talking to corporate, friends that you have. What's Google doing? What's the local gas and electric company doing? Learn from them. And there's little things, learn from me, right? Like, what did I do at 360 Payments? What are you doing at Shop Marketing Pros? It's so much different than a repair shop, right? Or a dealer. So for starters, I don't start employees ever on Mondays. They might need to get paid on a Monday. I'll pay them for a Monday. You need to start a candidate when it's best for you or whoever's training them, and your business. And it's very unlikely that you're going to tell me that Mondays are the best, because it's usually the most chaotic, and you're not going to be able to give them that attention they deserve. And their experience, they're like fish out of water. They're drinking from a fire hose. They're trying to learn all these new people, these new things. I prefer to start people on Wednesdays because they get a 3-day work week, right? And look, starting a new job is a lot for anybody. It's especially, a lot of technicians are introverts, right? They're not as extroverted as the owners are, or as we are. Like, give them that 3 days, give them your attention, and then they have a weekend typically, right, to decompress and come back in on a full work week. So you start with setting yourself and them up for success. And I should go backwards too. Make getting their tools really easy for them. Don't make them pay for the tools to get moved If there's anything you can send them for a service advisor, training material up front. Usually service advisors are eager. They want to learn. They want to know as much as they can coming into the job. It's okay to send them documentation before they officially start. At least that's how I've always looked at it. Have YouTube videos you want them to look at. Have a checklist of expectations of where they should be after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, second month, third month, and so on. And pre-calendar those check-ins. So have
ideas from you right now. I'm making my own notes over here.
Yeah, and I have new hire checklists that I'm happy to share with you too. And you can strip data out. Obviously what I do at Promotive is way different.
You have like all of that stuff. The one thing that you just said though that hit me, like I have an onboarding checklist and I tell them how long every little thing should take and all that stuff, how to use this software. Like we have all of that. But the one thing that I've never thought of is like, once you've started, this is where you should be at 1 week, at 2 weeks, at a month. We do a 30-day check-in, we do a 60-day check-in, and then we do quarterly conversations. But giving them an idea of the first maybe couple of months after they've started, some checkpoints, I think is really.
And as an employer, you also want to protect yourself. Like, yes, a lot of states are at will states, right? Not hitting that 90-day mark is like that, I don't know the exact labor laws and everything, but the unemployment and all that stuff. Like you want as much documented of their progress in writing as possible of where they're at. But on the check-ins, I like to have, you schedule it. If your shop closes at 5:00, like 4:30, they're meeting with the hiring manager or they're meeting with their boss, like whoever their supervisor is, on every single day for that first week. And in my world, I have them for their first 90 days. They have to send me a daily recap. I want, the top 3 things they learned, the top 3 calls that they, struggled with the most. They have to link me to the recordings, all of that. Obviously, you can get more customizable here on the technician side. Service advisor would probably be pretty comparable to what I do with recruiters and salespeople. But you want them to have that accountability to send you it. And if they don't send it to me that night, the end of the day, next morning, I'm like, yo, where's your email? Because you're setting that expectation that the respect needs to be there of like, they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do. End of the first week, end of the second week, end of the third week, end of the fourth week, I'm also having that check-in. And maybe again, Fridays for shops are super busy. For us, they're usually lighter. So maybe you're doing it on, a Thursday at the end of the day, but get that consistency. And then they're not going to be able to bottle up their feelings. And you're going to be able to hear like, oh, Ben in the back, like he's a jerk to me and he smells, or whatever the case is. And then on that 90-day mark, a lot of shops that I've seen, they bring somebody in at say $40 an hour, and they say, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z at day 90, we are going to bump you to 42 an hour, whatever it is. Like, don't let that fall on the candidate that new employee. That falls on you. People are uncomfortable talking about money. They're uncomfortable talking about career growth. They're uncomfortable having tough conversations. Make it easy, and you take that initiative there. Also in the first month, I would pay for them to go to lunch or coffee offsite with every one of your team members. Let them get to know people at a personal level. Your team member deserves to get to know their new teammate too. So don't be afraid of shelling out some money for that stuff. It's well worth it.
Yeah, for sure. So we only have a couple of minutes left, and I seriously, I have so many other questions, but is there anything like hot topics, common questions, things we haven't talked about that you want any of these Shop Marketing Pros clients of ours to know?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say there's like necessarily these hot topics per se, but I would just say recruiting is one of the easy things that anybody quote unquote can do. Just like people can do their own marketing, right? They can do their own QuickBooks, bookkeeping and all of that. But in life, I read a lot on happiness. Outsource the things you enjoy doing least, or outsource the things that you know are just falling by the wayside because you are putting out fires every single day. So for me personally, I outsource cleaning, I outsource landscaping, I outsource my pool chemicals and all that stuff, because yeah, sure, I can do it. I like my leaf blower and blowing the leaves around. I feel productive. I like vacuuming, right? I don't like cleaning the toilets, but like, I want to make sure these things still get done. So whether it's you bring somebody in-house to do it, you hire somebody to do it like us or you guys for marketing, like make sure that you are prioritizing these things. And, marketing, legal, insurance, recruiting, they're things you can't skimp on. They're the most critical parts of your business. And just because you don't need somebody today to fill an employee ID number on your roster, if you can't say every single person on your team is a rock star from their effort and output and all of that, and they're doing all the right things from an attitude perspective, they're team players, they're using the tools you're asking them to with DVI and all that, if they don't all fit in that bucket, you should always be assuming you need to replace the other people. Yes, you're going to do your best to keep them and train them. No, you don't want to lose that rock star master tech, even though he's an a-hole, right? Like you need to assume that they're going to win the lottery, get hit by a bus. You could win a large fleet job. Like be ready to have people ready to go as fast as possible and out there advocating for your business. So that's super important to me.
Love it. All right. So how can people reach out to you or Promotive, whatever you want them to know about, one, what you do, just we've talked about it, but put that out there. Exactly what is it that you do for shops, and then how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So our website is just gopromotive.com. Promotive.com's taken. So gopromotive.com. If you want to email me directly, lisa@gopromotive.com. I'll get you a link, Kim, for JR just reached out to me about us creating an official partnership. So I'll get you a landing page that could be tied directly to you guys, and we could work something special out for your customers, especially if they have a careers page, and how we can route those applicants over to us. By the way, we also will go after your past applicants and do outbound campaigns. So a lot of our shops just add us to their Indeed profiles as users, and then we go in and download 5, 10, 15 years of data, and we reach out to these candidates too, because we know shop owners aren't gonna, don't have time to call hundreds of people to see if they're still techs. But I'd say just reach out there. We're on all the social media platforms, which right now we're trying to, with vision, change the stigma of this industry and change the negativity and get technicians and owners to talk about. I'm looking at your thing. It's Lisa@gopromotive.com.
Well, if I have a phrase there, I don't know why.
You're good.
Doing that. I'm gonna.
The space bar is not working. Brian spilled coffee on your keyboard, right? But yeah, I would say I'm easy to find on the internet. And I promise, whether it's me, Joelle, Ethan, whoever you talk to, our goal is to help this industry, keep technicians in it, making sure the right people are paired with the right shops, because we're not bringing young kids into the industry today. But if we can stop the leakage of technicians leaving the field and being disgruntled and talking poorly about the role, and you see it on these groups, we feel like we can help the shortage by keeping them in with the right shop. So that's ultimately our goal, and you'll learn something. And we want to help you, whether it's today or 6 months or 3 years from now. We're not going anywhere. So,
well, Lisa, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think this is really super valuable. And we have, I don't know the percentage. That's probably a scorecard item we could be tracking, but definitely over 90% of our clients are hiring in some form or fashion.
Yep.
And we work with top tier shops, so they're all doing great work. But definitely can easily get bogged down, stressed out, overwhelmed with the whole hiring and recruiting and all that kind of stuff. But this is in our client only Facebook group, and then our CSM teams have this, and
Awesome.
they know exactly which clients need it. So they'll be sending them the link, because some will watch it recorded, and then some just need it to be sent to them. So either way,
Yeah.
but thanks again for your
Yeah.
time. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you at, are y'all going to ASTA?
We are. I'm registered, but I have one of my cousin's weddings. That's also that weekend, so I have to. It's in It's in New Jersey, so I could go from Raleigh to Jersey, but I have to figure out going back into that time management of experiencing everything with your kids. I have to figure out if I'm going to go.
We have a team of people, so send some of your team, and then I know y'all are going to be in Vegas. Brian will be there. I don't have anything to do with Vegas unless I absolutely have to, but so he'll be there, and then we'll definitely see you at other events. But thank you so much. I'm going to end the live stream.
All right.